Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Super OK Podcast. My name is Zando and I am your host this week. And joining me today is the wonderful man with the floating castle, Dale. How you doing, man? How's your floating castle?
I'm howling it up over here, man. It's good. It's good. All of the demo work in like removing the old, dirty, nasty basement is finished, which is great. The masons are going to start like next week on constructing the new, dry, nasty if you want to be basement. So, you know,
very nice.
Yeah.
How long is the whole process? When are you able to be back home?
It will be a miracle if we're back in the house by Christmas.
Nice. Christmas mackerel. That's what we're all hoping for.
We'll see what happens.
Excellent. Well, we are not a floating castle podcast. We are a video game podcast, but we like to start every single episode with our highlight of the week, where we just talk about something that's made our lives just a little bit better, a little bit brighter, something that just made us real happy. So you want to go first this time, since I'm taking the reins?
Now, look, I know you said we're not a floating castle holiday or podcast, but I would love to be a floating castle podcast.
We can change formats.
Just let's talk all Studio Ghibli. Let's just do it. Put it in, if you want us to do just a full Studio Ghibli podcast, put it in the Discord. I'll go first with my highlight of the week. I've got two small ones, and they're both based around media that I have been consuming. The first, and this is something that I know you are intimately involved in.
Oh, yeah.
Is the fact that AEW, All Elite Wrestling, has just been really, really good recently. Now, I know you actually don't give a shit about wrestling, but I'll tell you that like the storylines have been on fire. Some of the matches have just been absolutely insane. They have done some amazing things with some of the gimmicks the characters are doing. Like there's a group called Bullet Club Gold, and their leader is this guy named Jay White. And he like couldn't be there one week for some reason, and so the other members were wrestling. And so they brought out a cardboard standee of Jay White with them to the ring. And then they started like calling him Card Blade.
Nice.
And it got over, and so they started selling like mini cardboard Jay Whites like at the merch thing. But Jay White recently beat up the world champion, MJF, stole his belt. And so now he's walking around saying, like, I'm the world champion, and obviously he's not. But this week, just to rub a little bit of salt in the wound, they put Cardblade, like they duct taped on a paper world championship to his hand also.
That's awesome.
Amazing. And then there's like another character. Her name's Toni Storm. She recently lost the women's world championship, and she lost her mind and is now acting like a 1920s film starlet, like producing silent films and shit. Like it's real wild and real good. If you're looking for a non-xenophobic, non-traditional redneck anime to get into, I cannot recommend AEW enough.
Wrestling is like, it's one of those things that I kind of scoffed at in like middle school. I had some friends who were into it. I was like, oh, this is dumb. I remember watching it when I was real little, like at my grandmother's house. Like there was nothing else on because she had real basic cable. And I kind of watch those matches and I would get sucked in, but I never like obsessed over it. And now that I'm seeing like all the things there are, I have such respect for those dudes. Like anybody who is a professional wrestler, in most cases, I'm like, dude, you are awesome. And what you do is incredible. I just don't have the time to watch all of it. I wish I could be more invested.
Yeah.
I love the idea of professional wrestling. I wish I knew more about it. Just getting into it is a difficult thing.
It is the highest.
I love all of it.
Yeah, it is the highest form of theater because it's like, you know that John Wick is going to be like full of action, but Keanu Reeves has as many takes as he needs. These people are doing it live. They are like wrestling and doing backflips off of things onto other humans and all that live. And then sometimes they're getting up and delivering a speech immediately afterwards or before, like while they're out of breath from the insane physical activity that they've done. The
Mm-hmm.
storylines are absolutely crazy. It's awesome. It is real good, and you should really check it out. And then my second piece, and this is super minor one, um, it's real fall in Michigan right now. Like
Oh yeah, it is.
it's rainy, and it's starting to get like that gray. Like you're like just looking for a pumpkin to carve is where my brain's at.
Mm-hmm.
And with that comes what I affectionately call fall jams, or like sad guy music or whatever. Just like really been into a lot of Paul Baraboo recently. I don't know if you know who that is, but he is like one of the saddest folk punk people on earth. Been listening to a lot of Mountain Goats recently. Some Ben Folds. Like just like sad guys sing about sad stuff while the leaves fall around them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the perfect season for that, and I just love it. It's like a real sad, warm blanket that you can wrap yourself in.
Right.
So,
Well,
yeah.
quite the opposite. I have been and this leads right into my highlight of the week. I have just been obsessing over The Darkness.
Yeah, we
And I
talked
got
about that. It's dark outside. The sun's
right.
going down earlier.
No, the band The Darkness, I believe in a thing called love. Just listen to the rhythm of my heart. Those guys, that they had that song 20 years ago that people laughed at and no one fell in love with quite like I did.
Yeah.
Anyway, I loved that album when it came out. It just had its 20th anniversary. And The Darkness is in the US right now doing a short tour that is just in honor of the 20th anniversary. They're playing the album in its entirety, and they are playing a set list that they used to play around the time this album came out 20 years ago. And they came to Detroit last Sunday, and I went. And on a whim, I happened to look up and saw that they were doing a VIP package where you could go and get to the show early. You could go in and listen to them do their sound check. They did a live Q&A. They did a raffle, not a raffle, but like a drawing. Like you could enter in ahead of time to go up on stage and perform a song with them during their sound check.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah. And then you also got to get like a photo with them. They gave out like we had a special laminate, a VIP laminate, and you got like a canvas bag that they had all signed. It was really cool. And so I went to the concert by myself, which is something I've never done before. I've never just straight up just gone to a concert by my damn self. So I was like, you know what? I'll go ahead and buy this VIP package. I'll treat myself to a good show. I fucking love this album. To this day, it's something that pops up every couple of months, and I'm like, man, this is such a good album, and I just listen to it over and over again. And so I was like, if they're going to play the whole thing, that's my favorite type of concert. We went to go see Andrew WK perform I Get Wet in its entirety, and it was a fucking incredible show.
So good.
Like I've always been an album person. So if I'm going to see a band and know that they're going to play every single song off an album I love, I'm probably going to be there. So anyway, I went to this. I got to see them. I got to go and see the sound check. There was another dude who like had flown in from Texas because they weren't touring in Texas, so he flew his ass out to Detroit to see The Darkness. There was another guy who came from Vegas, and he got drawn to go up and sing a song with them, and he rocked it. It was incredible. And it was just really cool to kind of like get this down to earth moment with the guys. And the whole show was great. When they finally took the stage, they played the songs not in the order of the album, but they still did every single song. And these guys are fucking performers, dude. Like if you remember The Darkness, they had that kind of 70s or 80s like glam rock kind of style, and they just ham it up, dude. The bass player has this like small afro and a Fu Manchu mustache and just wears these gigantic glasses, and his entire suit was made out of almost like glitter. Like it was nuts. And he was like doing headstands at one point, like during the last song.
Jeez.
One of their guitar techs like jumped in between the barricades and the stage, and then Justin Hawkins, who is the lead singer and guitarist, jumps on his shoulders, and he gets walked around the crowd as he does a guitar solo for like 2 minutes straight. It was awesome.
That's so wild.
Yeah, dude. And because I got there early, like the VIP people got access to the show early, access to merch and everything early. So for the first time ever at a concert, I was at the barricades, I was at the stage, I was catching guitar picks, I caught the drumstick at the end, and this thing is like bent and splintered like crazy.
That
Like
thing
it
is
was
beat
such a
to
cool.
shit.
Yeah,
That thing
I
looks
think
like Wirt's leg. It's
yeah.
rough.
I believe I posted a picture in the Discord, and if I didn't when this episode drops, I'll make sure to do that. Um at the Q&A, I couldn't think of anything to like talk to them about. Like it was very last minute when I decided to do it, so I just threw in a quick thing. I asked them if any of them had ever played Guitar Hero, and in what songs they think of theirs would be the hardest and the most fun to play. And almost immediately, I get dismissed. Like he's like, I'd never played those because I was too busy being an actual rock star. And he's like, oh my god, that was such a dick thing. Like he felt so bad that he felt like I came and like paid money to get insulted by him, and he was overly apologetic. But I had also asked if, I was like, hey, I do this podcast called Super Okay. Could you guys do a shout out? And he's like, oh, there's no way I can like say no to this now that I've insulted you. So just for you guys here, I've got the recording and I wanted to play it for you real quick.
Good day to you, one and all. It is I, Justin Hawkins, and you're listening to the Super OK podcast. I've been coerced into doing this by Matt Alexander, King of the Nerds. Cheers.
Yeah, so I've introduced myself as a big gaming nerd beforehand. So he's like, oh, he's a nerd. But he also, like, when I handed my phone up, the guy who, the security guy who had my phone accidentally bumped the lock button on my phone. And so I had to like shout out my phone's passcode so I get it. And they're like, so what are we doing here? It's like, oh, we're looking at Matt's pictures. And so before that, I cut it out for the podcast. But there's a point where he goes, oh, nice dick, man. So I got a nice.
I hate to correct you on your own story, but I believe the exact term he uses is tight dick.
Oh yeah,
which for some reason is so much better.
You got a hell of a hog. Tight dick, man. Okay.
Yeah, I think so Dan is his brother. He's the other guitarist. I think he says at the beginning like quite a hog or something like that, and then he goes, "Yeah, tight dick, man." Also great. I'll probably chop that up and put it at the end of this episode because it's just great. But yeah, the whole fucking show, man, like it was so good. I loved every single song, and since then I've been like obsessively listening to the song and just the B-sides that they played at the show that I wasn't really aware of beforehand. I have been on heavy rotation. It's just been the darkness everywhere for me, and I've been just riding that high all week.
Yeah, it's funny. I never really got into the darkness, and I should have, because they definitely seem like my sort of like thing. I love like goofy bands that take themselves really seriously. Like I love that sort of thing. These guys are obviously awesome musicians. I really enjoyed that song. I guess I just never put myself in a scenario where I had the opportunity to listen all the way through that album, because this was back before like streaming existed.
Yeah.
And so I would have had to like go out of my way to download it off of like Kazaa or whatever.
You don't want to put the family computer at risk with some LimeWire darkness.
Right, exactly.
Well, then let this be the thing. If you have Spotify or Apple Music, go on and check it out. They have the 20th anniversary edition. It's called Permission to Land Again. The album was called Permission to Land. Permission to Land Again has live tracks. It has demos. It has the B-sides. It's all great. But at the very least, check out Permission to Land with the bonus track of Making Out, because that's a great song. And it is like, it's like... It all sounds like it's obviously excellent musicianship, but then the lyrics are just like goofy. Like there's one song called the second song on the album is called Get Your Hands Off My Woman. And it's all about like, imagine you're at a club and someone's hitting on this girl that you're not actually supposed to be with, but like you obviously have an affection towards them. And then just the chorus is him yelling, "Get your hands off of my woman, motherfucker."
I remember that song. And I remember loving that song.
Yep. That one's great. My other favorite is a song called Given Up, where it's just about like he's done caring if anybody knows that he's doing heroin, and the chorus is just him yelling, he says, "I'm giving up, giving a fuck." Like it's like I won't apologize. I'd inject into my eyes if there was nowhere else to stick my skag. Like it's so goofy and just good. Like, so if you like that 80s rock, like, do yourself a favor, give it a listen. It's really cheeky, it's really funny, and it's just damn good rock music. So I'm going to stop blowing the darkness here for a second because we are a floating castle podcast, not the darkness podcast. However, if you want a darkness podcast, jump into the Discord and let me know. I'll record it all by my damn self. I don't care.
Here's the thing, man. I'm going to listen to it. If people say they want a darkness podcast, we can do a darkness podcast. I'll record my first impressions.
We can double up. We can do the darkness band podcast and the darkness the video game podcast based on the comic book of the same title.
Yeah,
we'll mix it all together. It'll be great.
And also the I cast magic missile at the darkness.
Yes. Almost forgot about that. So good. Just the old 8-bit mascots of Final Fantasy talking about D&D and how it's the devil's thing. And I need more Mountain Dew.
Yep. I want to have sex with the darkness.
If there's any girls there, I want to do them.
That's the exact line. I fucked it up. I apologize.
It's all right. I mean, because we do want to have sex with the darkness. It's even in one of their songs, every man, woman, and child wants to suck my cock. Anyway, mascots. We're talking about mascots. What are they? Are they oversized camping beds? Ots that have masks? My first and middle name if it were mashed together and take some letters out? No, you stupid dummy. They're any person, animal, or object thought to bring luck or represent an organization. Originally, they were primarily used in sports as a way to strike fear into the hearts of their opponents. But now they're basically just icons that represent a company or sports team, which, for you astute listeners, is what I said in the first place. Damn it. Why am I repeating myself? I don't know, but let's put it into it right now, and let's talk about some video game mascots. Now, before we get into it, I have a little quiz for you.
Okay, but before you get into your quiz, I have to just clarify something. You said, no, you stupid dummy, and I couldn't tell who's the dummy here.
Anybody listening.
Oh, no, listeners, I'm sorry. All right.
So I have it before me, according to Wikipedia, a list of video game mascots, either by company or specific game. And so we're going to do a quick little quiz for you. And for everyone you get right, you'll get 6 points. And at the end of the quiz, you'll have a collection of points that you can spend in the shop at the end of the episode.
Okay.
I couldn't think of a reason why you would have points in this. So I
love how it's 6. I love how we have a shop now.
Yeah, it's a shop at the end of the. You never seen it over there? It's just chilling right near the end of the episode there, right before we say thanks for listening and all that stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess
all
I'm
right,
just blown right past it.
All right, so again, this is according to Wikipedia. I don't always agree with this necessarily, but let's throw out a softball here. Who is the series specific mascot for Metroid?
A Metroid?
According to Wikipedia, it is Samus Aran.
That's bullshit. The Metroid.
I agree.
Yeah.
I told you, I don't necessarily agree with all of these.
Do I get the points or not?
I mean, you said a Metroid when the answer, according to Wikipedia, is Samus Aran. So I'm afraid I have to.
If it's wrong, if they're wrong, I have to get what they would say.
You have to guess what they would say. Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm saving up for a sticky hand, man.
I know, man. All right. How about this one's got multiple answers. We'll go Sony Interactive Entertainment. You don't have to name all of them, but you can name one of them.
I'm going to go with Sly Cooper or Nathan Drake.
Nathan Drake is there, but Sly Cooper is not.
Interesting and wrong.
Yep. They list Ratchet, Kuro and Toro, Sackboy, Nathan Drake, and Kratos. And Polygon Man is a former. Crash Bandicoot is a former. Spyro the Dragon is a former.
Crash Bandicoot was the next one I was going to say.
Yeah. They specifically list Astrobot as the mascot for PlayStation 5.
You know, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So when I think PlayStation 5, I think Astrobot. All right. How about Capcom?
Mega Man?
Mega Man is one of them. They list Captain Commando or Mega Man. I defy anybody to be able
to. Only two?
Just the two.
Okay.
You'd think Ryu would be there. You would think, I don't know, Dante or.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. How about Bandai Namco Entertainment?
Pac-Man.
Pac-Man is correct. They also list Klonoa. So
I don't know what that is. It sounds like a venereal disease. What's Klonoa?
it might be. How about a little company called Game Freak?
It's Pikachu.
Yeah, that's right. It's Pikachu. Very good.
It's always Pikachu.
Now, this one I feel like I disagree hard with. Rare.
Banjo-Kazooie.
You would think so, but they have a character named Mr. Pants, who I don't even know who the fuck that is. But apparently he had a Game Boy Advance game called It's Mr. Pants.
What?
He's got a little derby hat and a scribble mustache.
I'm doing.
I'm right there with you. You would think that Rare would have Banjo or Kazooie or
both.
Or both. Yeah. Or Jet Force Gemini. Not that was like a huge game. Or Jago from Killer Instinct. All right. One last one.
I just Googled Mr. Pants. I've never seen this character in my life, and it's horrifying, and I hope I never see it again.
Yeah, I am right there with you.
Okay.
All right. How about Yacht Club Games?
I mean, that's your friend and mine, Shovel Knight.
That's correct.
Yeah.
All right. So I believe that's 18 points for you.
No, it's definitely more than that.
Let's see. So you had Nathan Drake, you had Pac-Man, you had Mega Man, and Shovel Knight.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's 24 points.
24 points.
You might get two sticky hands.
Yeah.
We'll find out all those different point values at the end of the episode in our special
I can't wait until Tootsie rolls like 9,000 points.
Well, when you think of video game mascots, which ones jump to the front of your mind and which are your favorites?
I mean, we're going to skip right past Mario and Sonic, right?
Right.
Like, we have already done an episode on Mario.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
have we done one on Sonic yet?
Everybody knows Sonic. I don't know that we've done one on Sonic specifically. If you want one, tell us. We'll do it. So I'm gonna say that my mind moves towards some of the more recent indie mascots, like the wrestler from Guacamelee, Hollow Knight, Isaac from Binding of Isaac, the Splunky guy, Fez, and of course Shovel Knight, who we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But I also like to think of like the early PS2 and Xbox era, like your Sly Coopers, your Master Chiefs, like that sort of thing. That's probably where they go to. My favorite mascot is one that most people probably don't even think of, and that's DJ Professor K from Jet Set Radio, Jet Grind Radio, Jet Set Radio Future, whatever you want to phrase him as. I just love his whole steez. He's amazing. Absolutely awesome. And then we'll talk later about some of my favorite mascots from when I was a kid and an idiot.
Fair enough. Yeah. So Mario is obviously the first one that jumps to mind.
God damn it!
I wrote it down. I had to say it. It was silly to me at the time. But I'm sucker for like the non-unique enemies, the one like a stormtrooper, where it's like a faceless enemy that there are thousands of. There's something about those I just love. So some of my favorites are the Dragon Quest slimes, just the cute little like blue smiley face slimes.
Real
Mets. Yeah, Mets from Mega Man, the little construction hat guys that just pop up and like, what's going on? They're running around. I don't know if they're an actual official mascot, but I feel like there's a lot of times in the beginning of Mega Man games where it says Capcom and there's one right by the logo. Yeah. So it seems like that would be.
And I've seen merch. I've seen stickers and keychains and all of that. So even if it's not official, it's like riding the line.
Right. Yeah. And like the serve bots from Mega Man Legends, which admittedly is a game that I never really got into, but I love the way the serve bots look like little Lego people. So those have always been some of my favorites. I do want to give a shout out, even though I don't think I've ever actually legitimately played a Crash Bandicoot game, which is probably means to revoke my gaming license. I've played it for sure, but I haven't given it a real college try past the first couple levels. But I loved when Sony had Crash Bandicoot as the mascot for the commercials, when it was just a dude in a giant Crash Bandicoot suit with a megaphone.
So good. Absolutely.
Those commercials were great. Sony did a really good job of having commercial mascots between Crash Bandicoot and the other guy who eventually went on to do other commercials, but was never as he was acting as the manager of PlayStation, and it was just a total idiot, but like in a business suit, so he seemed like he was official.
Mm-hmm.
I loved those.
Yeah. While you were talking, it reminded me of another one that I absolutely love, which is actually two. The Prince from Katamari Damacy,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely amazing. And then I from Super Monkey Ball.
Mm.
I absolutely love I. I don't know why, but he's just so good.
Yeah.
So
the times move on, games and fan bases change. Are there any companies with mascots that have been forgotten to time that you loved?
Okay, so here's where I talk about when I was a kid, I was dumb. And I thought that Plock from the game Plock. Yeah, you remember Plock,
Yeah.
right? He was like a square with like eyes, and the whole world looked like Yoshi's Island, but he was like a square with angry eyes. And I was like, oh, they're doing something different with this guy. And he could like throw his feet and arm and like legs and arms at you. I was like, that guy, he's going to be the next big thing. And he was not. And then Bubsy came out also for the Super NES. And I was like, this is it. This is the one. Plock? No way. Like Bubsy. And then, oops. Nope. Also not Bubsy. And then I was like, you know what? Super Nintendo, it had Mario. It's fine. They'll figure it out on the next system. And then Glover came out, and I was like, who's not going to love Glover? And I just do not learn my lesson, is what I'm saying here. So, yeah, I love the shitty ones, I guess, is my answer. What about you?
The Bubsy, that had at least 2 games, right?
Uh-huh.
And then didn't they try to reboot Bubsy a few years back?
Uh-huh. It went bad. It went real bad.
Well, for me, one that I always love, and I almost forgot about until I was like looking through some of the mascots that were listed on Wikipedia's page. When Sega was still in the console business and pushing the Sega Saturn, they had a mascot, or at least a spokesperson, if you will, on their commercials named Segata Sanshiro, who was just your average run-of-the-mill white gi, black belt martial arts man. And the commercials would feature kids doing their own thing, like getting ready to walk to a local park and play baseball. And then they would bump into Segata Sanshiro and fall over and look up like, oh, Segata Sanshiro. And he would beat the shit out of them and then tell them, you must play Sega Saturn. There was another commercial where these kids are like, they're all excited about Christmas and they look over and they see it's Santa Claus, but it's not Santa Claus because he rips the mask off and it's Segata Sanshiro, and the kids are mortified. And then he tells them they have to play Sega Saturn, and then he gives them one and leaves, and then they're happy again. But man,
so wild.
If you get a chance to Google Segata Sanshiro and look up, there's like a 10-minute collection of commercials. They're incredible because he's just like grabbing people by the arm and throwing them over his shoulder and then scolding them for living their life, their normal ass lives, without Sega Saturn and telling them they have to play it.
I thought the only mascot that Sega had for the Saturn was the character from Knights. I am so glad to hear that there was also just Violent Man.
He had a theme song and everything, man. It
Really?
was so good. Yeah.
Oh, I'm stoked to hear that.
Yep. If I would have been on my game, I would have made a short clip of that song as well. Maybe I'll edit. Maybe I'll throw it into the episode right here.
テニスやカラオケナンパにクラブ他にすることあるだろうが触れなきゃ遊べぬやつらには心に問いかけるぞセガタ三四郎セガタ三四郎セガサタン四郎
Maybe not. Who knows? Do you think mascots are earned? Do you think that mascots are earned by companies, or are they like nicknames and only cool if you don't give them to yourself? How soon should a company wait before choosing or accepting a mascot?
Why don't you go first on this one?
I think they're definitely something that need to be earned. you don't. I mean, the last thing you want to do is just be like, is say like, hey, you know what? It's going to be the new hotness is Plock, and this is going to be. We're going to put all our chips on Plock, and it's going to be awesome. And he's our new mascot. We have the bronze statue in front of the office building here.
Good old Plock. nothing beats Plock.
You want to make sure that the game is at least a hit before you accept a mascot. And for some companies like Yacht Club Games, like we mentioned before, it can happen super quick if you happen to have a banger on your hands, like Shovel Knight. So I think it's a safe bet that a year is a good period of time to wait. If you have a beloved game on your hands and the fan base really seems to enjoy it.
Okay. That's fair. I really think that this one can go either way. I think that some of them are organic. Like most of those indie characters that we talked about earlier, Shovel Knight, Guacamelee Guy, I feel like those are just organic. They were banger games. They had really good characterization, like very distinct character models that let people like catch on to it, that sort of thing. But others that have been just as successful were genetically engineered to be mascots. I mean, Sega knew what was up with Sonic from like day one. There was no question Sonic was the mascot. That was the deal. Like Sonic was selling systems before people had played Sonic, because the only way they could play Sonic is to buy the system, right? Mm-hmm. But they knew they had a banger on their hands with Sonic itself. It helps that the game was really good. But Sega committed. Pikachu is another perfect example of this. That fucker was built in a lab to get kids to watch anime and sell merch, and it worked, and no one was surprised that it worked because look at him. He's cute as hell. There are so many people who are Pokemon fans who didn't even play the games because they love Pikachu. They might have stuffies. They might have a card collection of cards that they don't even know how to play with, right? Because they're like, I love Pikachu so much. And I get it because he's a cute electric rat. And they built him to be a cute electric rat. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I think it can go either way.
Yeah, my daughter is living proof of that. She's never played a Pokemon game before in her life, but she loves Pikachu. She's got the stuffies. Now she's moved on to Eevee. But she was all about Pikachu for a while. She collected the cards. She's still excited when she sees a Pikachu. But Eevee and Sylveon are now her jam.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. But at the same time, that guy's powerful. Mm-hmm. Billions of dollars have been sold off of Pikachu, and that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't consider Pikachu when I went in through that. I think Sonic was actually meant to be a different character, if memory serves correctly. It was going to be like a sleepy, more of a Dr. Robotnik look of him in pajamas and a sleepy kind of look. I could be wrong. I could be just out of my mind and thinking of something else entirely. Or maybe that was just
Vector Man and how good Vector Man was and how it's a bummer that he lost out to Sonic.
I mean, Vector Man came out 5 years after Sonic, so he kind of had a hard road to hoe, whatever that saying is. Road to hoe. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. You remember when Vector Man came out and there was a thing where you could win a bunch of money if you were the first person to beat it? Or am I just in a delusional state in my head again?
I do remember that, but it wasn't just the first person to beat it. It was the first person to find a secret or something, if I remember correctly. I'll do a Google while you read the next question, or while you answer. No, you already answered this. While you read the next question.
Perfect. Some games and companies are just wee little babies and don't have a mascot yet. So pick one and share your submission for their mascot. So while you're still Googling, I'll bring up Sabotage Studios, who, as far as I know, don't have a mascot yet. Sabotage Studios is responsible for The Messenger and Sea of Stars. Their logo is a skull with a crown, which looks cool. But if they're looking for an actual little mascot or some kind of character to be that, I think they could use Quarble, the greed demon from The Messenger, as their mascot. Just a little one-eyed red demon with two curled up horns and a book that steals all your money. I think that seems like a perfect mascot.
I mean, he sounds cute.
He is really cute. And you can
All right.
sacrifice them to get more power in New Game Plus if you wanted to, provided you played the DLC and got all the collectibles.
That's awesome.
Man, if you haven't played The Messenger, you got to go do that. It's a great game.
I really haven't, and I should. I think, is it still on Xbox Game Pass or no?
I think
Did it
so,
get
and
dropped off?
I think it might still be. If not, I know you have bought like a million Humble Bundle things. You probably have it.
Yeah, I might. We'll
Because I know that's how I have it. It was just from a random Humble Bundle or a choice, Humble Choice or something like that.
Yeah. Real quick, I have the answer to the Vector Man thing, but I'll give my answer to the mascot piece first. Digital Extremes, the maker of Warframe, technically do not have a mascot. And also, their logo is trash. It's just a D and an E next to each other. It's bad.
Are they even like a stylized D&E?
Yeah, it's like, like what you would find on a Taco Bell cup in the late 90s.
Oh, yeah, it really is.
Right? So they should pick Clem, who is a character from Warframe. He's a Grineer soldier, so kind of that faceless soldier thing. But this one is a deserter, and all he can say in the game is his name, which is Clem. So he's got like Pikachu vibes to him, but he's just like a gross-looking soldier. And he should 100% be their mascot because he's great.
Yeah, he's got that kind of like semi like skull looking mask. Like that could totally be a mascot.
Yeah. All right. So I found a press release from January 12th of 1996 of a 12-year-old boy from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I cannot pronounce this name.
Okay.
Kiulama Neokalahauni Kala of Albuquerque captured 25,000 grand prize. Basically, the way that it worked is it was a mix of what you and I both said. There were certain cartridges that if you beat that cartridge would display a you win at the end with a number you had to call. And if you were the first person to call that number, you would win. And so this 12-year-old boy who got Vector Man for Christmas got one of those special cartridges, beat it 3 days later or something like that, and then called into Sega and won $25,000.
Huh. So you had to win the lottery of getting one of those special cartridges and then beat the game first.
Yes.
Or at least beat the game and be the first to call.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. Also, his name, which is, the shortened version is pronounced Keola, means the living branch of many nations in Hawaiian, which is such a badass meaning for a name.
Right? Holy shit.
I want to use the prize to help my family, he said. This kid rules at Vector Man and life.
Let's track him down, get him on here for an episode.
I would love to have him on this episode, on this podcast.
He's probably a listener, let's be honest.
Yeah. Keola, if you're listening, first off, I am so sorry I butchered your name earlier. And second off, hit us up on the Discord. We will 100% have an episode all about your journey with Vector Man.
Absolutely. Oh, man. Well, Smash Bros. And PlayStation All-Stars are both basically mascot fighters. So let's get rid of the company boundaries and mash them together. Which mascots do you want to see duke it out in hand-to-hand combat? AKA, submit a character for this style of game and describe some of their powers.
Okay, so assuming that we're talking platform fighter, right?
Yeah.
Like Smash Bros. Clone, I am picking Pepsi Man.
Okay.
All right. His regular special attacks are just like him punching. He's got super strength. He's strong because he can carry an unlimited amount of Pepsi. You've got to have strength to do this. Strength to do that.
Some strength.
Yes. His special attacks are obviously being able to throw cans of Pepsi. Maybe his down attack is he shakes up a can of Pepsi and throws it at the ground, and it makes a little explosion around him. That sort of
Oh, yeah, stuns.
His double jump. Yeah, right. His double jump is him shaking a bottle of Pepsi and then opening it below him to get like that boost of height, that like dash kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
All of those are things, by the way, that he cannot do in the game. In the game, his only moves are jump, super jump, and slide. So I guess to be like honest to the game, he would also have a slide kick.
That's fair.
Also, he's never thirsty.
Right. Yes, that's of course the biggest power is he's never thirsty.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to a previous answer and bring up Segata Sanshiro one more time. He's a shoo-in for a great fighting game character because he's a martial arts man, right? So he would probably have
scary.
Right? He'd have powerful kicks and punches as well as a devastating over-the-shoulder throw. He was often depicted as carrying a gigantic Sega Saturn on his back. So maybe he could just grab the Sega Saturn controller as nunchucks or something. I think he would also have a kind of a Fire Emblem kind of counter where he just like stands there and characters bump into him and fall down or stun for a second while he yells at them to play Sega Saturn. And maybe he could throw discs like Ninja Stars. I think that's a reasonable. Or the Sega Saturn memory cards. Do you remember the size of those things?
No,
they were like Sega Genesis cartridges. For like 32 megabytes, if that. They were friggin' huge.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Dude, go ahead.
I had a Sega Saturn. I bought one from a garage sale, complete in box. And when I was in like a junior in high school or something, and I was just blown away. That I was like, holy crap, this is gigantic. Like, is this a game? And I realized, no, this just says memory card on it. And they were friggin' huge. They went in the back of the system behind the disc flap where you could obviously plug in the discs and play. And I had Nights into Dreams and I had a handful of sports titles because apparently whoever owned this Sega Saturn before me only bought sports games. So.
Okay. Several things. One, it's huge. The memory cart is huge, and it's not even called memory cart because this is before memory cartridges existed. So they call it backup, which is insane. Second off, disc flap is such a gross combination of words for some reason.
Well, it wasn't a tray, and it was a little flap that popped up, you know?
Dude, I'm not blaming you. I'm blaming mankind, and not the wrestler mankind, like all humans. For disc flap. What a horrendous combination of words. And then lastly, the only time I interacted with the Sega Saturn was at a Sears.
I was almost going to guess a Sears. That's hysterical.
Yes. And they had, apparently the Sega Saturn had two different types of controllers. I'm not sure if you remember. There was one that just had like a huge ball on the side that you like moved and rotated like almost like a proto trackball or something like that. And that's the controller that they had. And I like walked up to it and I put my right hand on the part of the controller that's like for normal humans. And then I couldn't figure out what to do with my left hand. And then I just walked away.
Yeah, I was thinking you were talking about the normal, like the Sega Genesis looking one where it had the 6 buttons on it and the directional pad.
No.
And then there was also one that was like a gigantic circle that was for Nights into Dreams for some reason.
Yes.
It had the.
That's the one I'm talking about, where I was like, "What even do you do with this?"
Yeah. Yep. It almost looked like a Dreamcast itself was made into a controller, which is crazy because the Dreamcast came after the Sega Saturn. But it's a gigantic circle, like you said, that had an analog stick and then the directional pad as well as the 6 buttons. It makes the Duke controller look small, which is insane.
Why is it a full circle?
I don't know. I mean, it would have if you think it's early concept of having a directional pad and an analog stick. Maybe the components just had to be huge, and they didn't want it to be like some weird like the left side of your controller is gigantic, but here's this tiny little side. Like they didn't want it to go like a Nintendo 64 route where that just didn't make any damn sense for human hands. So they're just like, fuck it, we'll make it a gigantic circle.
We'll make it a full-on CD player.
Yep. That's the only thing is missing was a disc flap to go up so you can play the music.
Disc flap.
Plug your headphones into it. You know, it's all perfect sense, right? Sega Sanshiro wants you to play with it. Damn it.
He really does.
Well, it's going to take us into our sponsored question. And today's question is brought to you by 7-Up, the Uncola. There are cola nuts and there are Uncola nuts. And there's never caffeine in 7-Up, and there never will be. All right? That's what the old slogan used to be. Yeah, it was like, we never had it, then we never will. Look up old 7-Up commercials. They're wild. Sometimes video game stars mascots from properties that aren't video games. For example, 7-Up gave us Cool Spot and the lesser-known sequel Spot Goes to Hollywood. Cheetos gave us Chester Cheetah, Too Cool to Fool. Burger King even gave us Sneak King, Pocket Bike Racer, and Big Bumpin', all starring the king himself. And of course, who could forget I Love You, Colonel Sanders, this dating sim game from KFC. Can you guess what the sponsored question is? That's right. What non-video game mascot needs to star in their own game, and what is the premise? Now,
were you asking me if I could guess what the sponsor, or was that also the viewers or listeners?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I can see it, so I didn't have to guess. But listeners, let us know. Be honest if you were able to guess what it is.
They might be expecting, curveballs from us at this point. Who knows?
It's true. It's very true. All right, I'm gonna go first because I think that the big boy needs some love. Big boy from such places as Big Boys. All of his restaurants are closing. When you do find one open, the inside is real sad. Trust me, I ate there not long ago. And also, no one knows what that big boy is doing with that big burger. And we got to answer that question. And so I want a Telltale style game where we learn the answer to that burning question. And I also want to learn like how he meets his friends, like Dolly, Slim Jim, the brawny lad. Maybe we start with him as like a regular boy, or hell, harder difficulty level starts as a little boy. And then eventually has to grow into being a big boy. And we got to figure out what that means. Like, is it like a normal thing? Is it a gamma radiation scenario? Why does he have access to unlimited salad and soup? Like, I need to know all of these things. I want it in like, I want morality in it to know, like, hey, are you going to put meat in what should otherwise be a completely vegetarian cream of broccoli soup? Oh, you are? And it's ham? Wild choice, big boy. Like, I got to know all of these things. I want to know the whole backstory. Who does his hair? Why is it like that? I got to know. And I think really we can only trust Telltale to tell us.
That sounds accurate. Is there any chance that we could call it Little Boy to throw people off, and then we find out how he became a big boy?
And then, like, at the beginning of, like, the last scene, he puts on those checkered suspenders and the checkered overalls, and he, like, palm olives his hair or whatever, and you're like, holy shit, this is a big boy video game the whole time.
I think the shock is going to get a lot of people going back to Big Boy. Like, I can't believe I grew so attached to Little Boy only to find out he was Big Boy all along.
The whole time. The whole time.
And aren't we all Big Boy when you really think about it?
I mean, some boys are bigger than others, but yeah. I think so. Well, I think bare minimum, we all love a Big Boy sandwich.
Yeah. I'll snap into a Slim Jim. Wait, that's a different
Slim Jim.
Slim Jim, but I'd still snap into it. I don't care.
Very confusing. I can't wait for the DLC when Slim Jim and Brawny Lad take on Macho Man Randy Savage. So dumb.
Tying it all back into wrestling, of course. Well, I really wanted to come up with something for Gritty, the mascot for the Philadelphia Flyers that just like terrifies half the fan base and is beloved by everybody else. But I couldn't think of the perfect game for that character. I kept coming up with things that worked, and there were too many things that were good. Like I was thinking maybe like a Mario Party style game because that dude loves to party. And so I was coming up with different things. Then the character of Eddie, the mascot for Iron Maiden, popped into my head, and I started thinking about all the different album covers where he's in the future and he's part cyborg, or where he's an ancient Egyptian pharaoh getting a monument built to him. And I thought about how cool it would be like to have an old, like cheesy style thing of like the members of the band have all been kidnapped and trapped in different points in time. And it's up to Eddie to go and find them. So you get to play through all the different iterations of Eddie, including Revolutionary Trooper. Like I said, futuristic half robot, half zombie looking dude.
Yeah, where he's got laser eyes.
Yeah, laser eyes and a sweet pistol and robot legs. Or Feudal Japan Eddie from their album that was released in like 2018 or something like that. I feel like there's just so many options that you can do, and all the video game music could be instrumental tracks of Iron Maiden, and maybe they get more and more involved with the more band members you find. Like at first you just have the drums, and then all of a sudden the bass comes in, and by the last couple levels you have full on Iron Maiden tracks playing in the background.
I love that idea. I love even more the idea of it being you can rescue the band members in whatever order. And so you want to play it again so you can hear like, oh, what does this level sound like when you have both guitar and bass, you know?
There you go.
I love it.
I think that's a killer idea. Or it just might be an excuse for me to listen to more Iron Maiden, which I should.
Either way. Honestly, it sounds like you just basically created the sequel to Brutal Legend.
I almost said like it could be Brutal Legend style where it's like goofy because it's dealing with all the heavy metal stuff. I almost throw that in, but yeah, that's that would be a great follow up. But I just wasn't sure if I wanted to invoke the ideas of the RTS battle system.
No, not that.
Which kind of completely derailed that game for me.
Yeah, only the beginning part.
Yeah,
yeah. I hate to like do a bonus answer here, but I have a really good idea for a gritty game.
Oh?
It's just fucking Double Dragon, but where you're gritty and the enemies are regular humans in the street. And everybody wants to beat the shit out of you because of what you look like, and you want to beat the shit out of everyone because of what you look like. And so you're just like walking through the streets of somewhere other than Philadelphia, obviously, right? You're like in, I don't know, New York. Who the Philadelphia's got to have some sort of rival. I don't know what it is, but whoever it is, that's where it takes place. Orlando, maybe. I don't know. Nashville, Denver. There's a city out there that Philly hates. My gut feeling from looking at Gritty is the answer is all of them. So maybe it's Rampage style, where Gritty is just going from town to town, beating the shit out of all of the citizens of that town. But here's the beautiful part. It's Double Dragon, which means it's a couch co-op, which means player 2 can be the Philly fanatic. And they're just roaming the streets together, beating the shit out of enemies. And you got to have power-ups because it's a beat 'em up. And so you can have power-ups like cocaine or more cocaine because, like, look at him.
I love the idea of like, I need the cocaine. Oh man, that's more cocaine power up.
Yeah.
One idea that I had kind of kicked around was like just mascot 3-on-3 hockey, but I'm pretty sure that's already a side mode in NHL like 21 or something like that. But make it its own game. Gritty's mascot hockey like that. That's, I mean, it's a little on the nose, but who cares?
But the problem is like, Gritty would beat the shit out of and eat the bones of other mascots. Like,
right.
Like he cannot be trusted around living things.
Yeah. Also, I mean, Detroit doesn't really have a mascot other than just like a giant winged wheel. And that can't play hockey, doesn't have arms.
Yeah. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's absolutely terrible.
We need a great mascot.
I was going to say, we really need like some absolute gutter trash mascot. It's just like a fucking tire who smokes.
It's like the Bell Tire guy, but with like weird piercings and tattoos and just is smoking consistently.
Yeah. like smokes a cigarette, but also is on fire and like black
lights his cigarettes
everywhere.
Off himself.
Yeah. If you have an idea for the Detroit Red Wings mascot, you let us know what it is.
You jump on X and you tweet it to Pizza Arena, which is definitely the right place to do that.
It's definitely real. I definitely Don't run it. And I definitely didn't the other day have somebody ask me if I sold alcohol during gospel concerts.
That's so good.
I didn't even respond, but I really wanted to. But any answer I could think of was the most sacrilegious thing. Because every time I would be like, no, that one's too sacrilegious. I can't say that. I would think of a new one that was worse. And so I just was like, you know what? Let this man enjoy his boozed up gospel concert. I'm not going to worry about it.
You should have responded with, we don't intend to, but somehow the water always turns into wine.
That was like my first take.
Damn. Here I thought I was being clever.
I mean, you are. I didn't put it out there. That's a case of a parallel thought or whatever.
There you go. Parallel thinking.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, thinking of things that are parallel, we've come to the end of the episode, which means we were right here next to the point shop.
Oh, great.
And you gave your answers. You have 24 points. I'm gonna go ahead and throw an extra 6 on there for your bonus gritty game because that was brilliant.
I mean,
so you've got 30 points to spend in the shop. And unfortunately, the cheapest thing is 30 points. So there's really only one thing you can get, and it's a message to Dan. For 30 points, you can send one message to Dan.
How many letters?
I think you're limited to
probably 8 characters,
8,
right?
Yeah, 8, including a space. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna go.
Oh, wait. Actually, we can throw in a bonus 5 for an extra space and an exclamation point.
I'm gonna go with FUK space U space DAN and then fill the rest with exclamation marks.
Nice.
Fuck you, Dan, with like a lot of exclamation marks. Just to let them know how much I mean it.
Excellent. Well, if you are still listening, please keep listening as I say thank you for listening. That's a lot of listenings. It's late. If you're still listening to this, thank you for still listening to this, and thank you for continuing to listen to this.
I'm drunk on gritty juice, baby.
We have cocaine and more cocaine. And so much Pepsi from the Pepsi Man.
I love
before we run into some guy trying to beat our ass for recording a podcast and not playing Sega Saturn, why don't we let the people know where they can find us?
I am a toy-sided ninja on the Discord, on Twitch, but I ain't streaming right now. My house is floating. I can't stream. I'm on Blue Sky as well. And if you need an invite to Blue Sky, just hit me up on the Discord. I got so many, and it's real good. It's so much better than Twitter was. So yeah, hit me up.
Excellent. I am Xando Calrissian in the Discord. I am also on Blue Sky. You can also ask me for invites because I haven't given a single one out yet, just because I'm not much of a social media person, but I'm happy to help. Yeah, other than that, Xando Calrissian, pretty much anywhere you can find me. I am also on Twitch, but I'm also not streaming just because I don't have the time to do so. And I think that's all I got. Listen to the darkness. Just go do it. Permission to land. Do it. Thank you, Justin Hawkins, for that wonderful intro and a compliment on my hog, my tight dick.
Yep. Great tight dick. Also, thanks to all of our Patreons for the support. We could not do this without you. You all have tight dicks, whether or not you have a dick. It's real tight. So thanks immensely to all of you.
Yes. Thank you so much. All right.
One last thing. We are running an emoji contest in the Discord right now. And by the time you're hearing this, you've got like a few days to put your emoji in. So if you're not in the Discord, get in the Discord and put the emoji that you want in the Discord in there. And odds are it's probably going to make it in, man, because we need more emoji in there. And there's some good ones. There's some real good ones, but maybe you have a better one.
Can I enter the chibi shrimp looking Zangief more times?
I mean, no, just the one time.
I want to enter it 1,000 times.
We're not going to fill up 1,000 slots with one.
I mean, just do different color variations. That's cool.
I guess.
I'm not going to take the time to make the color variations.
No. If you're not making them, we're not doing them.
Nuts.
He does look like a shrimp. It's weird.
He does. Or a butthole, I get often.
Tight butthole, man.
Tight butthole. All right. We'll catch you all next time. Thank you so much for listening. Say goodbye to everybody.
Have a super okay day. Goodbye.
Bye.
遊びの道に魂込めた一人の男が今日も行く。真面目に遊ばぬ奴らには体で覚えさせるぞ。背がた三四郎、背がた三四郎、背がさ三四郎。テニスやカラオケナンパにクラブ他にすることあるだろうが、触れなきゃ遊べぬ奴らには心に問いかけるぞ。背がた三四郎、背がた三四郎、背がさ三四郎。若者よ、真剣に取り組んでいるものがあるか。命がけで打ち込んでいるものがあるか。背がサタンしろ。指が折れるまで、指が折れるまで。刹那の快楽追い続けても虚しい余生が残るだけ。とことん極めぬ奴らには体に叩き込むぞ。背がた三四郎、背がた三四郎、背がサタン四郎。白い浮雲真っ赤にたぎる遊びの地。途中で投げ出す奴らには体で覚えさせるぞ。背がた三四郎、背がた三四郎、背がサタン四郎。背がた三四郎、背がた三四郎、背がサタンしろ。
I really wanted a sticky hand.
Tight dick, man.